Welcome back to Grid Drop. Today I'm going to give you 6 tips to improve your racing and help you overtake on F123. These 6 tips will be divided into 3 categories: following, overtaking, and side-by-side racing. If you're new to the channel and these tips help you out, feel free to subscribe. We just hit 500 subscribers, which is super cool, so thank you for all the support on my videos, I really appreciate it. That being said, let's get right into it. The first step to overtaking more cars is to get better at following behind them. The better you can position yourself while following the car in front, the more likely you are to succeed with an overtake. Now obviously, the first step to following other cars is by having similar pace, and if you need more general tips to make you faster, you can check out some of my other videos. But if you're already comfortable enough to have similar pace to the cars around you, there are 2 main ways you can improve how you follow. The first is to carefully manage your ERS, or energy recovery system. It's important to use this battery effectively, as you can burn through it much faster than it can be generated. I have a few ways that I use ERS to help me gain on the cars ahead. First, I take notice to which parts of the track I'm faster than my competitors, and which parts I'm slower. Once I'm sure about which sections I'm slower, I use most of my ERS there. This balances out my pace compared to the rest of the field and negates my slow pace in these parts of the track. This way I only gain time on my faster sections and cancel out my slower sections. However, there are many instances where I'm slower through a certain section of corners. Since ERS is more effective on straights, how can I utilize the battery through corners? The best way to do this is by using battery on corner exit. By quickly enabling ERS right after a slow corner, it helps me get the car up to speed faster, more quickly. This negates some of the time you may have lost through the corner. It's important to note that enabling ERS on corner exit for just a short amount of time is where it's most effective, because it helps generate more momentum than the cars around you. It's not really necessary to have it enabled for long, especially if you need to conserve your battery percentage. DRS strategy is also an important part of following the cars in front. Obviously, if you're within DRS range, you're already pretty close to your nearest competitor. However, there are a few things to keep in mind. Firstly, patience is key with DRS. If you have DRS enabled, don't force an overtake. Just let the natural advantage slowly bring you closer to the car in front. It's not optimal use of your tires or your battery to try to force an overtake too early. Instead, wait for the perfect moment to strike. There are usually 2 situations with DRS. DRS advantage very far behind the car in front, and DRS advantage very close to the car in front. When close to the next car, the slipstream effect combined with DRS does most of the work, and using your battery is only necessary if you want to get ahead before the corner. When DRS is active and you're far behind the car in front, using the battery is definitely a viable option if you need to get an overtake done more quickly. However, it's important to use it sparingly. A short spell of ERS when climbing up the gears is very helpful when DRS is enabled. It helps gain momentum even faster and multiplies the effect of the battery. If you're low on battery and need to conserve it, a quick hit of ERS right as DRS is enabled will definitely help you gain speed on the car in front, and you don't need to enable it for too long. Overall, DRS strategy and ERS management are vital skills to master if you want to follow more effectively. But now, let's get into the fun stuff. One of the most important rules about overtaking is finding an advantage behind the car you want to pass. The best way to do this is to compromise their line into the next corner, or in other words, by faking an inside or an outside overtake and then switching at the last second. Cars in front are only allowed one move to defend, so if you want to overtake around the outside, stick your nose towards the inside of the next corner. This is likely to force the car ahead to defend the inside, completely opening up the outside line into the next corner. Once they commit to a defensive move on the inside, you can switch to the outside line and have the advantage when entering the corner. This also works the other way around. If you want to overtake up the inside, make a move that shows you're looking for an outside overtake. Once the car in front defends the outside, switch back to the inside line. You can also use these fakes more than once, which usually results in the car in front positioning themselves in the middle of the track, opening up both overtaking options. Another way to overtake more effectively is to compromise their line by forcing them to one side of the track. This is most effective when you're alongside the car you want to pass. Slowly position your car towards the middle of the track. Once your competitor is forced to the inside line, hold your position until you're very close to the next corner. At the last second, right before your braking point, move back to your ideal line. Once you're back to the ideal racing line, brake as you normally would and enter the corner. Your opponent will still be much closer to that inside line and they'll be forced to brake much earlier in order to make the corner. This is a very effective way of covering off a potential threat. So here's another example of us forcing a car to the inside in order to compromise their line. Here we're alongside the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc and we're going to slowly push him to the inside wall. Once we get close to our braking point, we're going to aggressively switch back to the ideal line and Leclerc is forced to stick to the inside. When Leclerc is forced to the inside, his line into the corner is compromised, and it results in him having to brake earlier and overall a much slower run through the corner. Another thing to consider when overtaking is the ideal line into the corner. Should you overtake around the outside or send it up the inside? Well, the answer to this question varies from track to track, corner to corner, and overtake to overtake. In most cases, overtaking up the inside is the safest bet. Brake later than the car in front, take the inside line, and you should be good. However, there are some special cases. My rule for this question generally covers corner exit. Inside or outside, which line sets me up for the best possible exit? For example, here at Spa, the outside line is preferable when overtaking at this corner. The outside line quickly turns to the inside line and corner exit is much smoother. Here at Monza, it's the same thing. The outside quickly turns to the inside, the overtake becomes much smoother, and I have a much better opportunity for a strong exit. However, here in Austria, the inside line is preferred. When we're side by side through the corner, it's easy to close the door on the car behind. For the next corner, an outside overtake is near impossible, and the inside line sets you up for a much better exit. Overall, you have to judge this for yourself, but prioritizing corner exit is a good way of understanding which way to overtake. I recommend doing some races on a lower AI setting, probably about 20 clicks below what you usually race on. Start from the back of the grid and practice learning which corners are preferable for inside or outside overtakes. Lastly, we're going to cover side-by-side racing. As I mentioned before, a very valuable strategy is to force your opponent to the inside and compromise their line. However, there's another step you can add to this. In my opinion, switchbacks are some of the most effective overtaking moves in racing. They allow you to compromise your opponent's line, use the ideal racing line, get the best exit possible, and create a good gap to the car behind you on corner exit. When racing alongside another car, slowly push them towards the inside of the track, and at the last minute, switch back to the ideal racing line. However, this time, you want to brake slightly earlier than you normally would. Here's an example. Here we're racing Guan Yu Zhou side by side. I'm going to slowly push him to the inside of the track and hold my position. Once we're close to my braking point, I'm going to aggressively switch back to the ideal racing line. Now Zhou is still on his inside line, and I'm going to brake about 20 meters before my normal braking point. Since he still has the inside line, I'm going to shoot towards the apex of the corner and cut right underneath him, completing the switchback. This move is extremely effective, and you're only sacrificing about 20 meters of braking. Your opponent will have a much worse run through the corner and even have the potential to lock up. This move definitely requires some practice, so I recommend practicing at tracks like Bahrain, Qatar, and Spa. Put the AI on a lower setting and practice switching back and cutting underneath them. If you learned anything new about following, overtaking, or side-by-side racing, leave a comment and let me know. Also, feel free to leave a comment with any videos you'd like to see in the future. You can also do that in my Discord, which is linked in the description. The support on my videos has been great lately, and thank you for 500 subscribers. So that's going to do it for this one. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.